Hello everyone, this is China Paradigm, where we, Daxue Consulting, interview seasoned entrepreneurs in China. Hello everyone, I'm Matthieu David, the founder of Daxue Consulting and the podcast China Paradigm, related to Daxue Consulting. And today, I'm very happy to welcome to the show Matthieu Spriegel, who is a co-founder of an app called ATIOM. It's a mobile-based app focused on training, communication, and team building. And you have funded this company 2 years ago with your two co-founders, if I'm correct. You have been in China for a while now, and you have been overseas for more than 8 years. That's what your LinkedIn profile is saying, but maybe it's not totally updated. And you are going to tell me if I'm right. You have recently entered the very famous accelerator called China Accelerator, which is for those who don't know, a bit of the Y Combinator for overseas entrepreneurs in China. And again, I'd be happy to know if you agree with this introduction of China Accelerator. ATIOM is providing training, communications, and team building. And I discovered your solution through a trip we made together with EO, Entrepreneur Organization. At that time, we were part, and I think you're still part, I don't know, you're going to tell us about that, of the accelerator. I used to be part of it, and I really actually have a very good memory of this trip to Malaysia and also all the training we got. That would be part of my question and what you got as training from you as well. So thanks for being with us, Matthieu, today. And happy to know if there is anything you want to correct in the intro.
That's it.
Okay, good. Thanks. So first question is about your solution, ATIOM. We went on your website. We went online to know more about what you do. As I understand, your solution is providing the software, and then your clients are inputting the training. Could you tell us more about your solution?
Yeah, it's a great question, Matthieu. So the platform is our core business. So it's a B2B and now a B2B2B license business model. And originally we had intended to be a pure SaaS, but as you know, it's very difficult when you're just starting out to become pure SaaS model. So we have incorporated some more professional services, including content. We work with a number of different partners that help us deliver face-to-face training. And depending on the needs of the client, whether it be service standards for hospitality or perhaps financial services for a company like Porsche, we'll bring in experts or work with consultants to help us develop that content to make sure that we're delivering the best quality for the end user, particular to that industry. Yeah.
I see. That's something I like to go back afterwards, after understanding a bit more about the size of the company currently. We know we always begin with this question to give an understanding to the audience of where you are at now in terms of development. So you can tell us about number of clients, team size of the team, revenues, 2018.
Half of the team is on the development side, and then we have other team members focusing on sales. We have someone that's particularly focused on data, so we're really collecting a lot of good data. We're trying to make sense of it all. That's a new hire for us. And in terms of clientele, we were really lucky in the early stages. We got two big hotel brands when we first started within about 6 weeks of coding. So we kind of skipped the beta stage and went right into selling the product. It wasn't a perfect product, but it worked well for them, and that gave us some early traction in the hospitality space. And since then, we've been able to bring on, currently we have 11 paying clients in retail, in hospitality, automotive, and also a big company in facility management.
I see. Talking about what you were saying first is that providing the solution itself was not sufficient. So you have added recently providing the training in itself, the service of actually designing the training. Could you tell us more about the change you operated and how you have operated this change, if I understood correctly about the change in itself? Because it seems to be very different to provide the content of the training versus providing the platform.
Sure. So, yeah, as I said, to provide the platform was quite difficult at the beginning because we realized the clients weren't necessarily equipped to build up the content necessary or to implement the platform themselves in order to deliver a good experience for their end users or for their trainees in this case. So what we started noticing with the clients is, yeah, they were producing content, but the format was quite sloppy or poorly formulated. So we proactively went to the client and said, hey, we think we can improve your end user experience by taking your raw training materials and helping you convert them into the platform. Although it's a low tech platform, and although we've designed it so that anybody can on the teams can drag and drop files or create questions and answers or quizzes, what have you. We decided that it was for some of the clients that have low headcount and not enough resources to upload content and create it for themselves. We help assist with that.
I see. You started, and I feel you have a bit more now opened the industries you are serving. But you started with F&B and hospitality. I feel that in this industry, the training may be more hands-on and down to earth, like how to serve a client, how to say hello, and so on and so on. Wasn't it your idea that these industries would be easier it would be easier for them to use the platform by themselves because the training may not be as complicated as to train someone on finance or on consulting on something else? Was it the idea initially?
The idea for entering F&B and hospitality at first?
First, yes.
Yeah, so to be completely upfront, the platform was originally, the idea came out of the healthcare industry. And so after we started, we realized that to get some traction in the market, it was going to be very difficult to start with such a complex industry. And we had a decent network within food and beverage and hospitality. And although the industry itself, hospitality speaking, is quite fragmented because of the different ownership and management structures through all the different big brands, it was quite easy to get them signed, and they could pay, and we didn't have things like compliance or the medical teams or big finance teams to navigate. So it was much easier to get some traction within the industries. Also, for the hotels that we were servicing, it was a very clear pain point for them to train on our platform, because a lot of the training happens in the classroom and only in the classroom. And as we all mostly know, that most things that are learned in the classroom, by day 2 or by day 3, almost everything's forgotten. So with our platform, with the continuous training and the micro-learning small chunks, it's quite easy for them to absorb what they're supposed to be learning, especially when it comes to the very black and white service standards, for example.
I see. That's one thing I wanted to dig in a bit better, a bit more, is that how do you create those gamification patterns? How do you create a stickiness through your platform, and now maybe from the content? But initially, I understand that the platform which should create the stickiness and the gamification.
Okay, good question. We're actually being a little bit more careful about how and when we use gamification, because sometimes when people hear gamification, they think, shoot 'em up or these types of like real gaming games. And our gamification really is quite simple. It entails leaderboards. We have different team competitions. There's a point system. So just like in China, you have WeChat steps, or in the West, maybe they have like Fitbit walking steps competition every day with your friends. And we've incorporated some of those elements in the platform. You also have badges, like virtual prizes you can earn. So really, it's just we've just overlaid a points and team system overlaid over daily activity and frequency for each of the individuals and teams, and that really helps drive a lot of the daily activity.
Okay, which I would say, okay, I don't know if you would like to use this word game, but which tool is doing best in China or in terms of retention of employees for training?
Yeah, I would say it's mostly around the leaderboards. It's quite cool within in a hotel to see, let's say, the head of finance competing with the assistant housekeeping manager on the leaderboards, and you can see that they're quite competitive. They're always maybe not number 1, 2, or 3, and perhaps they've never trained before together or might not even know each other. But on our platform, they're able to engage with one another, and it does help build some team camaraderie. We try to encourage healthy competition, make sure that they're not getting too vicious or trying to cheat the system to gain more points. Yeah, within that as well, each of the teams would have a champion, which also really helps drive the engagement, because then they have a chance to during their daily huddles or their weekly meetings, they can help encourage their teams and their colleagues to use the platform to train a little bit more.
I see. And so on the initial stage, the content was created by your clients, but now you are creating already the content, or
so good question.
Not the case?
Currently, we're trying to our new focus is actually helping helping them with the content creation when they start. So we'll create enough content for their teams to train for, let's say, 2 or 3 months. And then we try to take off the training wheels, and we give them the tools and the training they need to actually create the content themselves. And one of the reasons that and that's not to say that for some clients we do continuously release new training courses or modules every month. It just depends on the need. But for the general client, we try to give them the content they need to start, so that they can focus on the team change of actually doing training on a new system. Because if they're trying to build a new habit within the teams, and they're also trying to manage the content, and they're also trying to implement, it can be quite a challenge. It can be a stretch in terms of their focus, because a lot of the people that we're working with, they already have a full agenda of items every day. So we really try to make it as easy as possible for them to get started. And the turnaround time is quite, if the client has PPTs or different, like let's say employee handbook or HR handbook, if those types of things are already prepared, it's very helpful in the turnaround time. We can usually convert all of those, depending on the number of projects, but we can usually convert the content in about a week and get everything up and running within 5 to 10 working days. So it's very quick.
I see. So you have a team to convert the content they provide to you within the app.
Correct. We have people that focus solely on content, and it comes out. You can decide if you want it in English and or Chinese. The system 95% of our users are using it in simplified Chinese. We also have traditional and English, and it's actually quite easy to. For the future, when we want to grow the business, we will be able to add new languages. It's set up to add a new language in just a few days.
I see. Talking about China and going overseas, you studied in China, and as we know, China is very specific when we talk about technologies. It's a lot of WeChat-based, mobile first, and mini app, and mini program, progressive app. What's your feedback on this? Because you develop an app, right? I don't know if it's iOS and Android and both. It may be both, but you develop an app. Do you already also have a mini program for?
Good question. So we have an iOS and Android app. It's developed simultaneously, and we do not have a mini program. There's a couple of different reasons, and the main one is being the limitations within a mini program. We are considering developing one in the future specifically for China, but by developing a standalone app, you can also create something that's much more secure for the client, as our platform is encrypted. You have things like name stamps. If someone was to take a screenshot of sensitive information, the information would follow them. I think it comes down really to when people go onto our app, we want them to be solely focused on training. And I think the big objection for me against WeChat enabled training is that by the time that someone gets onto the program to learn about something with their job, they've probably checked 15 different group chats. They've looked at Moments, which is the social, as you know, is the social media feed on WeChat. And by the time that they've actually got to the training, they may have forgot why they were actually on WeChat. So when they go into our app, we want them to really be focused only on helping them improve themselves from a training capacity.
I see. I strongly believe that an app for training makes a lot of sense in China. My first business was selling gift boxes with actually experiences inside, and I had to hire salespeople in the shop to sell the product, and they were coming from sometimes provinces where they had never seen any French restaurant or driving a luxury car and so on, and they didn't know how to talk about that, and that was what we were selling. And I felt that I wanted to have an app or something to actually feed their brain with what it is a French restaurant, what it is to drive a Ferrari for 15 minutes to experience it and so on. What is the first things that the first elements that you are solving for your clients? Is it presentation skills? Is it understanding the values of the company and what the company is doing? What are the first elements you are solving for your clients?
So that's a great question. I probably should mention where the idea actually came from. So I was in China working on the client side of a big multinational company, and I had to sit through, I shouldn't say had to, there was some enjoyable elements, but a lot of it was very boring. It was 10 hours a day for 10 days in a row of sales training. And after about 1 hour on every day, I looked around the room and no one was paying attention. The training manager looked completely exhausted from traveling all around China conducting these trainings. And he or she, there was two training managers, were just reading word for word off of the PPT slides. And so I thought there must be a better way to do this. So the initial idea sprung from sales training, and that was around product training, sales skills. It was around the key competitors. It was around pricing and understanding your client. For where the idea was born was around a lot of sales training. However, right now with hotels, we're focused a lot on service standards, and with retail, we can start as basic as employee handbook. So just think of the things that are the most important for a company to know, like an employee handbook where people don't know it. Also, this isn't coming out very clear. So we try to find content that is applicable to as many people within the organization as possible. So we do look at service standards or brand knowledge, or again, HR handbook, because most of the time people will receive an HR handbook or employee handbook. It's extremely important for them to do their job in a compliant way, in the right way, and for them to help them understand how to apply for leave or what the gift policies are and things like that. But most people will receive the book and then they put it in their desk drawer. They might reference it 2 or 3 times over the course of their career, and that's it. But actually, this is where a lot of the most important company information lives, and it's really important that it's really important that they learn it, even if it does take 2 or 3 months. So that's the example I like to give in terms of where to start with a company. It's something like the HR handbook or the onboarding employee guide. So like the do's and don'ts and the top 10 things or the top 10 people to know in or about your company. Things that are going to help people hit the ground running and not be learning by too many mistakes in the beginning. Of course, you're going to make mistakes, but I think it's better to let the teams at least comfortable to start work, and also the managers to feel comfortable to let their new people start work. That's the main goal.
Yeah. Do you have a specific format? Let's say it's a 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes training, like every day, 5 days in a row. Do you have patterns of training people, especially let's take the example of the employee handbook, which is very important document in China on top of the labor contract?
Yeah. So it's really important to note that we focus on 5 to 10 minutes of training every day. So it is the term is microlearning, where you can just think of small chunks of content that are delivered to the trainee every day. And each trainee is going to receive different content depending on when they join the company and how quickly they're going through the content. It's very much learn at your own pace. In terms of format, the platform supports video, picture, text, and audio. But for something like the employee handbook, what we'd probably do is we'd break up each of the chapters into 1 or 2 different modules, and then they would absorb that through PDF reading, perhaps some multiple choice question quizzes. You can also attach supplementary resources. So if the employee wanted to dive deeper into a certain section, then they could maybe watch a video on that or read a case study that supports the learning in that part of the employee handbook or that chapter.
Okay. I'd like to understand more how you started, and you have 2 other co-founders. We looked a little bit on LinkedIn. I understood that one is in Japan, and 2 others are you and another co-founder are in Shanghai. Could you tell us more about the story behind it? How you started together, and what are the different roles you have?
Sure. So yes, we have one co-founder who's in one of our co-founders in Tokyo. He joined us a little bit later, but my original co-founder Devin, who's our CTO, we met in Nanhai in South China almost 10 years ago. We were both teaching at a school there. We hit it off pretty quickly. We'd actually had a couple of other projects together. One was an English learning platform. We tried to start a t-shirt business. Also, I was doing some different quality control projects. So there's a lot of things that we were kind of experimenting with and trialing for quite some time. Then I went into the healthcare business for about 5 years, and we obviously kept in touch. Devin became a very good friend, and 2.5 years ago, after chatting about this idea a bit, for a couple of years prior, I said, "Hey, do you want to? I'm kind of getting sick of my job in the corporate world. Do you want to code this thing?" And he's like, "The timing couldn't be better." He was just finishing up a little application project. I think it was a personal project actually for just building a game, so we started coding, and everything was created mostly through WeChat, ironically enough, through like voice messages and quick mock-ups and just very quick iterations on the product, reiterations I should say. And that's how we met. And then we brought on Ollie about a year after we started. Just to go over the basic roles, so I'm mostly responsible for business development, the finance, partnerships. Ollie is responsible for our marketing and our client solutions. So basically, as soon as I sign a new client on, I'll pass it over to Ollie, and he'll take care of the implementation and any kind of follow-up services that are required to make sure the client understands how the program works and the implementation runs smoothly. And then Devin, of course, is responsible for managing the development team, and he's full stack developer, but his main focus is on the front end and the app development.
I just have a question about China Accelerator. Why did you join China Accelerator? And secondly, what is the kind of deal that you have when you enter China Accelerator? I heard before that the kind of deal which they offer could be to to offer some offices space for you to grow the business, and also they would take some equity and or give a loan that actually could be paid back once they find investors for you, and on they raise money for you. And last thing they provide to you, as far as I understand, is introducing to new investors and supporting you to the next round.
Yep, those are great questions. So we looked at a number of different accelerator programs, and I actually opened up a previous business entity through another incubation space in China. It wasn't incubator; it's a shared office space that supports startups or multinationals that want to enter into the China market. So we looked at a number of different programs, and obviously also part of EO Accelerator, which is very much like networking, and they have learning days, and you have accountability groups. It's a really nice community to be part of as well. I think the difference with China Accelerator is it's not just the office space that they provide. They're very so they give you some money. You also have to give back a little bit in terms of the space that you use here, and also the team that they provide. So here you have experts in residence, you have your own analysts, you have the managing partners that you have weekly check-ins with. You have about 100 or 200 different mentors that you can tap into that are from healthcare industry, they're from branding, music, food and beverage, many different industries and walks of life that you can tap into that are considered industry experts. They help you with financial services. They can help you with government relations. They can help you with, we've brought on a couple new members since we've been here. Okay, yeah, so they give you access to a number of industry experts or the mentors. As I said, there's things like HR services that help you with meeting some of your hiring needs. They'll help you with the accounting. And then, of course, they have an OKR system here where every week you have to review your OKRs with the managing partners, and which really puts a lot of good pressure on your business to hit weekly milestones. So often with a business and a startup, you're making some good deals, you're closing some new clients. It can be very easy to think, okay, we're growing, we're on a good trajectory, but here they're really forcing you to scale your business very quickly. And I think the other difference since we've joined the program is all the decisions that you make become data-driven. So before, a lot of our business was built on the network that we had and also just like hunches in the market, assuming that clients need certain tools, certain products. But now through China Accelerator, they really help you qualify a lot of those feelings or hunches that you have about your product and how it fits into the market. And I think this is one of the most important elements that we're getting out of China Accelerator.
How long does it last?
So there's a mandatory 3 months. Once we signed on, we didn't join the program because it didn't start officially until last week. But I was here a few weeks prior, just using the office space. And then once the 3-month official program is finished, you have 3 months optional, where you can still use the space and still plug into the resources. But what's great is once you go through the program, you're plugged into the network forever, as long as the business lives. And I guess the other thing is you get a lot of different perks with the program as well, like discounts on AWS, on GitHub, HubSpot, the list goes on for the different perks that we get, either for free or at a very deep discount, which is helpful for a lot of the development CRM systems that we use.
I see. I feel that a lot of companies from very different stages are joining China Accelerator. Some are at the beginning with not very secure and business model, not understanding already how to monetize, and some are already raised like $1 million. And I remember I interviewed Sebastian from the K-Voice, as well. He entered China Accelerator after a couple of years, and it says it's 3 years maybe, and he has already raised before. Whereas I saw some entrepreneurs actually from Shenzhen in AR, or VR, I can't remember exactly which format they were using, that just started and joined China Accelerator after a few months it started. Do you confirm the diversity?
Yeah, I do. I think when they first started, there was a lot more early stage, but now it's a blend of companies that have raised $1 million or several $1 million, and all the way over across the board to very early stage, just creating idea. Product is just about finished. Maybe no pilot clients even yet. And I think that we're probably along the lines of like maybe a little bit more later stage, because we have over 10 clients already, and we have a full product. For us, it's more about scalability and getting into enterprise space. But yeah, it actually that kind of wide range of scope in terms of industry and how big the company is and how developed they are. It provides a lot of cross learnings between the organizations, whether it's like sharing best practices or staying up to date on the latest technology. So yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic here. They focus mainly on making sure that the companies have you do buy into the culture here. The companies they bring on, it match the China Accelerator culture. So in terms of like running lean and not being very extravagant and making sure that there's a certain kind of passion behind them. Most startup founders you meet have very strong passion. I think they definitely that's an important aspect for them, but mostly it's around being a lean startup and just not burning through cash. I'd say as much as it's cool to work at a place like WeWork, it's very expensive. So if you were working out of a place that's a really expensive office space, that might be a little bit of a turnoff for someone like China Accelerator.
At the end of the program, what do you expect? Do you expect that the support you would expect that you would have raised a new series of financing? Would you expect to reach a certain level of revenues? What's your expectation?
Yeah, that's a good question. So number one goal is to grow our revenue, and so the fundraising aspect. Although we probably plan to do a big round following this program or around the end of the program, at least start the process. Our main goal is to really scale the business and build a big revenue. Ideally, we're in a position where we have enough revenue, we don't need to raise money. Although it's still very nice to know that that's a big possibility for us, and also that there is a huge network of very qualified investors and VCs that will know about our business after this program is finished. So at the very least, we expect to develop really key relationships within that space, so that when the time is right, we can really do a big fundraise if we want.
I see. So your business is profitable, and I like to know more about your pricing model for the app. It's a SaaS, so it's a service as software. How do you price it per user? How is it?
First by user, and it's tier pricing. So usually our cutoff for a business would be around 200 users, and then we go up to 10,000 users at the moment for different companies. And then obviously the more users they have, the price drops marginally for each of the different tiers. And then on top of the licensing fee, we do service some clients around content, and if they need extra training workshops. And we also plug into a group of partners that we work with to offer other services like training workshops or brand activation, different team building, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so this is adding up in terms of pricing. I mean, this is consulting or tailor-made budget.
Professional services, yeah.
Oh yeah, about the name of ATIOM. Where does it come from, and what's your Chinese name?
So originally we came with the name Accelerator, and one of the reasons we use that name is because we're talking about accelerated learning, accelerated training. And the domain was available, so we just took that as our first name. It was just like an active brainstorm within the office, and then we realized it was difficult for us to spell. Our clients were also struggling with the name, like there was too many syllables. That was one reason we changed the name, and then the other one was that we didn't want to position ourselves only a training company, because it's not just training. It's really focused on employee engagement, the team building, developing a learning culture, etc. So we did a very long name brainstorm, at least long in terms of the startup world. And we came up with the name ATIOM. It means the coming together of spirit and matter. And we thought that's one of the meanings. We thought that this is like the coming together of the managers and their teams, and developing more touch points between the different colleagues within an organization. And the Chinese name is ATIOM, which means it's Qing Ai Da Ai, Ti Wen Da Ti, and Xian Bu Da Mu. It means like to love to solve problems. So it's a little bit of a romantic transliteration, but it works. The feedback from the clients is quite nice so far.
Good. So what the future development for you what do you see as the future development of the industry for you and for the industry? Generally speaking of training.
For us, we want to keep trying to develop more partnerships that can help enhance the service that we provide to the clients. Obviously, within the product, we're developing more advanced learning modes where it's the content is more easily adaptable to the platform. There's definitely not a one-size-fits-all. We want to make that flexible for the client. So it's not about creating everything, but giving them the feeling that they can use anything on our platform to deliver trainings. In terms of the industry, I think that we will never replace face-to-face training. Especially industries like hospitality, that hands-on training and the develop of your the personalization is extremely important. We're really just trying to enhance and scale up those different training initiatives and make it so that if you do have 1 or 2 days training time with different teams, that it's used efficiently and it's colorful and it's fruitful for the trainee and also the manager. We want to make sure that they're focused on things like role play and, as I said, personalization, or for sales guys, maybe objection handling. For the industry, I think that we are moving online. Over 95% of the world, in China it's even higher, are on smartphones every day and most of the day. So we want to make sure that they're if they're going to be on their phone, they're at least doing the right things that can help them grow as individuals or teams on the phone. I think we'll see a lot more training companies and platforms popping up that have different tools, online tools. I think for us, the main goal is to provide the continuous training. So we don't want them to be on the phone doing training all day. They need to go back to their jobs or go back to the face-to-face training. But it's a tool to make things continuous. It's really, I think these types of technologies are about creating more frequency of training and touch points, more than volume of the training.
I see. We're close to the end of the discussion, and I wanted to share with you my a bit of a surprise that you are not using those very fashionable words like chatbots, AI, deep learning. What is it? Is it for? And you're telling. I believe basically that would be a fusion between technology and face-to-face, or an app to remind the training, to remind the knowledge, and the face-to-face training, and that they to work together. Is it a belief you have that actually, or is it a decision you made not to communicate on those words like AI, chatbots, and not developing those tools?
Yes, it's a great question. So the chatbots are not off our radar. AI is also not off our radar. It's things that we're always brainstorming, and it's part of our development brainstorm, and perhaps part of our roadmap. But for now, the guys that we're dealing with on the client side, as soon as you start mentioning things like AI or deep learning, it can be very intimidating for them. So we really want to be, our goal is to be approachable technology platform to help scale existing training initiatives. So in the future, we'll develop these contents these tools as the clients demand them. But we really want to make this accessible for even an intern to use within an organization or an assistant manager to be able to create and push content as well as learn.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthieu. So the founder of ATIOM, and I hope you enjoyed the talk.
That's great. Thank you so much for having me.